9:16 on the morning show with Jeff and Will. We are back. I, of course, am Will. Sitting across from me is Carrie, filling in for Jeff this week. And joining us as she does every Monday at this time is Tina Trasser from the Rockland County Business Journal, or the Rockland Business Journal, excuse me. Good morning, Tina. How are you this morning?
You had it right the first time. Rockland County Business Journal, and good morning to the good people of Rockland County.
I should have went with my instinct on that one.
You always go with the gut.
Exactly.
You always go with the gut. Speaking of gut, the people of Rockland County are being faced. There's an issue that they really need to be engaged with one way or the other, and I am going to try to do a little educating this morning. So get out your pencils and your notebooks, because here's what's happening. Anybody who's lived here for 5 minutes or for 50 years knows how Hi-Tor has, the animal shelter, has struggled over the decades. I don't think there's anybody, unless you live under a rock, who doesn't know that. That said, the shelter is at a turning point. This is a moment in time where many different things are happening at once, and the possible direction that it goes in could depend on what the people of Rockland think and have to say. Let me provide some background. Hi-Tor exists or occupies a county building, a county facility. And in fact, with the combination of funds raised through the county, the state, and the shelter itself to private fundraising, the county has gone out with an $8 million bond to build a new $8.3 million shelter. At the same time, Hi-Tor is a nonprofit organization, a private nonprofit organization that has run the shelter. But Rockland Green, which is the former Rockland County Solid Waste Management Authority, which is a public authority and not a department of the county, is hoping to take over control of the functions for the animal shelter as it gets built. Now, this raises philosophical issues, and it also raises financial issues. I'm going to talk about the financial side of it in just a moment. This effort by Rockland Green has been in the works for over a year. It seems to have been conceived by Havershort Town Supervisor Howard Phillips, who's also the chairman of Rockland Green. All 5 supervisors from the towns and 2 mayors sit on the board of Rockland Green, as does 8 members of the Rockland County Legislature. And the supervisors, along the board, I suppose, of Rockland Green, has moved this effort to take over Hi-Tor forward last week when it went to the county legislature to ask for permission to change its charter to be able to essentially manage animals, in other words, in the capacity to take over Hi-Tor. We have just published, and we are just reporting, that not every town supervisor is on board with this. Teresa Kenny, when you click on the story this morning, you will see that Orange Town Supervisor Teresa Kenny has raised concern about this, I think, for 2 reasons. One is that Kenny broke away from the rest of the supervisors in terms of funding Hi-Tor specifically, and has moved her services over to the Hudson Valley Humane Society. So that's one issue, and is now, raising the question of whether Orangetown will be mandated to be under the auspices of Rockland Green if this were to happen. Secondly, she raises the point of whether or not it makes sense to have civil servants, in other words, Rockland Green, running the shelter with her quote, all the fringe benefits that go along with it, and raising the issue is wouldn't it be more cost effective to have a private entity do so rather than a public authority? I want to talk about money for a moment, because this is some important perspective that most people, I don't think that they know this, and all of these numbers and figures are in the story. But let's just break this down for a moment. So we know that in recent years the towns have their commitment to Hi-Tor has been upped, and this created some consternation. Both Howard Phillips and George Holman have been vocal about how much the towns have had to pay. But in total, the towns have only paid about $280,000 annually to the Hi-Tor budget, which is less than 35% of the total operating budget, or over $800,000. And the balance of that operating budget comes from the county, the health department, and mostly from private fundraising. So when we contemplate what that would look like in terms of Rockland Green stepping in and taking over Hi-Tor, I can tell you that in front of the legislature, we learned that Rockland Green doesn't have financial projections, that they haven't, spelled out how this is going to work financially. However, they did say that when asked, that they would hire at least maybe 3 to 5 people to the public authority, and that they would have part-time veterinarians. So Rockland Green has a $73 million operating budget. They taxed Rockland taxpayers $31 million last year. Or this year is the tax levy for this year. The question is, if they are to take over Hi-Tor, how does this potentially change the taxation, and how does it also change the relationship that the shelter has in terms of its funding from the town? So there are many issues where there are many more questions than answers at this point. But that said, Rockland Green's request to change its mandate is headed to Albany, and state officials will be having to vote on whether or not to allow them to change their charter. And then if they do allow them that will come back to the full legislature that will vote on this. One last thing I just want to put out there is that the Hi-Tor board itself has never sat down with Rockland Green. Rockland Green has not approached Hi-Tor to talk about this takeover, and that is, much the Hi-Tor board is very distressed that this is happening without having had any input or participation at that table. One board member says in our story that they find it reprehensible that the organization, the authority, has not sat down with them to even talk about how the shelter is run. So this is I don't know.
Tina?
Oh, hi, Carrie.
Can you pause a moment for a caller?
Oh, I sure can.
Okay. Good morning. You are on with Tina Traster. Who's this?
Yeah, good morning. How you doing, guys? Okay.
Jimmy.
Hi,
Jimmy.
Hope everybody is good. Okay. So, I called last week, and I did feel that it's time to put the light on Rockland Green. Okay. And the fact is that Ms. Traster is talking now about how Rockland Green want to put what I will call the tentacles into the Hi-Tor is wrong, okay, for many reasons, okay. Number one, the Solid Waste Authority, change the name to Rockland Green, okay, they are not, okay, there's not much that the public knows about them, okay. They don't have regular meeting like any kind of a town or county have, so people can come and present their questioning, the case around something. Okay, it's a number of politicians here. Okay, that behind closed doors, making all kind of decision here, getting paid by the taxpayer here, and and I'm just wondering how much of accountability there is here. When this to start with. Now they want to venture into something that they have no concept, nothing at all. Okay, those politicians don't know anything about running a shelter. Okay, okay, so they may bring some people in. Okay, that means there'll be more additional cost to the taxpayers here. Okay,
Jimmy, let's let Tina respond to what you said already, and if you don't mind, because we do have another show coming up at 9:30, so we're going to run out of time.
Okay. Can I just say last thing, please, Carrie? Okay.
Yeah, make it quick.
Okay, I'll do it very quickly. Okay, if residents were looking on their tax bills, they can see that the cost associated with Rockland Green, okay, are mushrooming from year to year. In my case, and it comes under about 3 different inputs there on my tax bill here. I figure almost $500, okay, and it keeps going higher and higher and higher. Now, as Ms. Trasser said, they're going to hire more people.
Yeah, let's let her respond, and because we do have to wrap it up, Jimmy. So if you'll just listen on the air, and Tina, go ahead.
Thank you.
Well, let me respond. The caller is not wrong in terms of the total tax levy for Rockland Green for taxpayers in 2022 was $31 million, which was a 17% increase over 2021. So he's correct about that. Now, public authorities do have a great amount of autonomy, but I will say this much, okay? With Rockland Green, they do publish their financials online, so you can go on and you can look at their financials. The other thing is, and the board does accept public comments at its monthly meetings, and the next board meeting is April 28th. Again, April 28th. So if the public wants to weigh in on this issue or go to that board meeting, I think that they do have the ability to participate in this issue. And I think that's where I started this morning. That's the most important thing here is, does the public want to participate in this decision that will impact their taxes and that will impact the animals in the county or not? That's the question to ponder.
All right. And of course, if you'd like to take a look at that article, you can go to rcbizjournal.com. Did I get that correct, Tina?
rcbizjournal.com. You got it.
You can also sign up for their newsletter there and also visit their Facebook page, the Rockland County Business Journal. Thank you so much, Tina, for joining us this morning, and we will talk to you next week, if not before then.